Hello, everyone. Good evening and also good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your time today with us for this webinar. So, in next 30 minutes or so, we will be speaking about the Pega Constellation UI UX architecture. We shall touch upon the technology architecture, the traditional UI UX limitations, and why all of a sudden there is a constellation from UI kit to Team Cosmos and now Constellation. So, so everyone, my name is Manjunath, in short, Manju. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Instellars, responsible for customer success, adoption, and business outcomes by leveraging Pega technology. So with me, I have Mayank, who is our AVP technology. He leads our solution and engineering team. So he's responsible for driving innovations at Instellars, focusing more on automation, straight-through processing mechanisms. How do you like cutting down the case life cycle time, improving the customer experience? Definitely some innovations using GenAI technology to power citizen development and also to do faster rollouts. So in this webinar, so I'll be asking Mayank a couple of questions and kind of an interactive session to ask about Constellation UI architecture of Pega and what is something Mayank and his team are developing around this, right? So welcome Mayank for this webinar.
Thank you, Manja.
Okay, so we'll start with our first question. We have observed the evolution of Pega UI UX architecture, right from UI kit to Team Cosmos and now Constellation. So let's start with explaining us about the Constellation architecture, right? And also how it is different from traditional UI UX technology of Pega.
Yes, Manju. So basically, see, Constellation is a modular way of designing. Okay, so in a way, it's a center-out architecture. Okay, which focus on the business logic primarily, and then it builds the UI according to the data model of that. Okay, compared to traditional UI, where the focus was more on coupling things together, this gives a different approach, but it is more prescribed in nature. So it gives you certain steps, 1, 2, 3 kind of steps where you follow, and then gradually you get a desired UI within a very short period of time. And it also focuses a lot on getting the outcome first rather than on the development part. Like a lot of complexity has been taken around out of it from Pega, and it makes things easier for business and for developers as well to couple the business logic and the output together at the same time.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah. So in traditional we have sections and all. Here we have view-based architecture, and it is built on top of React, which is again an API-based thing. So we have a lot of customization option, right? So if you build on Constellation, you can build a portal in a very small amount of time in a standard portal. But then it provides also an option we can customize things. Okay. So if you're a use the Constellation SDK, there's something called SDK, which we can discuss in the architecture part. So you get the SDK and then use the SDK, and then you can add any amount of complexity. You can build a very a modern web-rich UI, okay, which support all the browser, which support all the operating systems and everything, right? So Constellation helps a lot in getting us right in front of the modern rich web-rich UI.
So I believe the UI kit is something that whatever that you can do, you can very much do, right? Right from the customization, you can very much untick the auto generated HTML code, and you can do a lot of stuff. So I think that actually caused a lot of issues in terms of upgrade, right? And then Pega has come up with something called theme-based Cosmos UI UX architecture, where it allows a bit of customization, but it is not like UI kit. And now the Constellation, where I think Pega out of the box is delivering that UI UX, right? And then allowing the citizen developers to do that UI UX stuff, or otherwise, in the other terminology, or in the other way, the developers are actually focusing more on building the case types or micro journeys, right, rather than focusing on more on UI UX, right? So I think that's where the Constellation comes into picture in terms of reducing that the upgrade issues, accessibility issues, and also ensure that the best practice of UI UX is followed, right? So I think that's where Pega is going. Understood. So let's talk about architecture, Mayank. What are the different components? How Pega is actually delivering that UI UX out of the box, right? In terms of generating that React code on the fly and all those things. Yeah, I would be interested to look into the architecture and understand from you how it is, what are the different components in that architecture.
Yes, Manju. So I'll do one thing. I'll share my screen. I have a diagram of the architecture. Okay.
Sure.
So it will give us a better picture on how it looks and all. So if my screen is visible to you, so the architecture is divided into basically three parts. Okay. So the first part starts with your basically the Pega UI service, where Constellation Infinite Server comes with a Constellation DX builder. Okay. And then this Infinite Server using that SDK, right? You can build some static component, okay, static content basically, or you can say component as well. So this is the client design system. If you can see the yellow part which I'm here. So this
So I
yellow
think
part,
I'm not able
yes,
to see the screen. Let me. I think you need to. Are you sharing the screen?
yes, yes. Let me see. One second.
Yeah.
Is it visible now? Okay.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's loading. Yes,
Okay.
there it is. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so basically I was saying this particular thing, right? So divided into three parts. So Pega Infinity Server comes with one thing is called custom Constellation DX component builder. So through which you can build all the components. So as I told before, this entire thing follows a modular way of designing. So each module calls a component and it's based on React. So they call it component, right? And the other part is Constellation SDK. So the SDK is the basically through which you can build all the custom components, a complete client design system kind of thing, which you can deploy inside this browser, right? So if you can see, we start from left to right. So in the left side is you can see Constellation DX component builder that is part of Infinity Server. One more thing, SDK, the right one on the orange. So that is also part of Infinity Server, right? So this is we can download from GitHub and we can use it to build any custom component. So once we build this custom component, you can say customer UI as static content, right? So this is the client design system. So this particular thing can be deployed on the browser, right? And if you can see this particular dotted section, right? So that entire things runs on the browser and it comes with a Constellation JS engine. So this JS engine basically interacts, it would help you to render all the component what we built. Rather we built using Pega component builder or we build using SDK component builder, both are supposed to be rendered using Constellation JS engine. Okay, and in between these two components, you say Pega or client design system, there lies a bridge, or the multiple bridges. It can be React based, Angular based, depending on what you're using SDK. Okay, if you're using React SDK, it will be React based bridges, right? And to render all these components, basically how it works, once we load everything, the Constellation engine uh, basically interacts with Pega UI service. Okay, and then there's something called constellation.io. It interacts with that and get you all the rendering of those components on the browser. Okay, and then we get to see all the UI. Okay, so once we build and deploy, those components will be available inside Pega for all the time. So it's a build and deploy mechanism, right? So let's suppose you build something now, 5, 6 components will deploy. So those 5, 6 components will be available all the time to play around and create your Constellation system, right? And then you can keep on adding components and keep on deploying. So this makes the entire process of building an UI very modular in nature, and then we can build and see the changes, and then you can build again and entirely will create a very complex and very modern rich UI. So this is how this entire architecture is defined. Okay. And then if you go further and see how this entire stack of Constellation works, so we can create multiple kind of applications in Constellation. So in Constellation, you use Pega native app using the components which Pega DX builder comes with, DX component builder comes with, and then you can create web embed Constellation. So let's suppose you have a website, banking website, where you want to display a loan origination form, right? So you can build a Constellation based application or case type with a form, and then just embed the form in your website, right? Any website you have, you can just embed in that. It starts working, right? Then you have Salesforce Lightning Connector, Pega Lightning Connector, which Pega provides for Salesforce integration. Then you have one more customer SDK customization. So first we saw that you build this entire web embed using the Pega DX component builder, Pega native app. Then let's suppose your website needs some kind of custom form, which is not possible in Pega component builder, Pega native API, native app. Then you use it using SDK, customize as you want, and then you can deploy that also on the website. So it makes the various use cases like loan origination, self-service portal, and things like that readily available building using Constellation. So this opens a lot of different way of using and different use cases for Constellation as well. Okay, so these 4 or 5 ways are there through which you can use Constellation and build different kinds of portals for our users or businesses. So this is about the Constellation architecture.
So from this architecture, right, I could see that the interaction between Pega and the client browser, which is happening through the DX APIs,
Yes.
right? And then, of course, if you want a very rich components, UI components, you can use your build tools, right? And then build your own component that is called DX component, and then you
Yes.
can very much leverage that in your UI UX UI screens, right? And then the next architecture that you showed, how do you integrate? It could be a Constellation native portal where it is employee facing, and the other one is I think kind of a mashup design, right? Now it
Yes.
is like kind of a web embed design that is again that interacts through the DX APIs. The other
Yes.
way is actually leverage the SDK component. For example, if it is a React application, the client React application, and then you can leverage this, the SDK, right? The Constellation SDK, and then you can also render whatever the components you might maybe a workplace, or it could be a case type, right? Or it could be some customer view or whatever that again interacts through the DX API, I believe, right? So this is what, in a nutshell, the Constellation architecture. And then there are some components like as you rightly told, there's a front end bridge and then Constellation GS engine, which all makes the magic of delivering the right UI UX. Got it. So I was actually about to ask what are the real-time portals that we can actually build outside
Yeah.
of employee-facing and constantly native one. So you talked about something called loan origination. So
Yes.
any real-time that you actually done for any customers, right? Using Constellation-based architecture.
Yes,
Any
Manju. So
examples?
we built something called agent portal, okay, which we can find a solution of ours called IDC, Instellars Digital Collaboration. Okay, so it's a you can self-service portal, okay, which we are using as agent portal for our auto financial company client. Okay, so they have been using it for almost some time now, and it's make them task very easier of collaborating with outside agents, external agents, with internal employees, and still doesn't disturb their modern WebRich UI, which already they have, right? So we're using this Constellation entire built up for them, and the response has been pretty good, and the efficiency, the turnaround time, everything has been quite like spectacular for them. Okay, so there have been positive impact on the business. Okay. And apart from
Understood.
that, we have Insta Notify is a framework. Okay, we have published that 1 year back. It's a notification framework, and now we are converting them using Constellation also, so that it becomes very easier for business to be on that Constellation journey. Okay, and then a self-service portal, which I told you that's already there. Okay, and we're building a basically a solution which will demo. The full demo will be in Pega World, right? We'll unveil in Pega World. Okay, we'll present a demo today also. So that's
Okay.
something called Constellation Theme Manager. Okay, which has a suite of components, and then it has Theme Manager also. So it's a two product suite which works in together in tandem with each other, and you can build Constellation portal with all the components, mix and match of all the components, and then you can use the theme manager also to personalize it for each user. So I'll demo that today, but this is what we are doing, and few more things in Constellation department.
I think one thing it is very spectacular to see, right? The service-oriented architecture, where
Yeah.
the UI UX gets delivered from invoking the DX APIs. That is where I said service-oriented architecture, and then it actually made easy to integrate into their client design systems or external portals. Kind of
Yeah.
very easy to do the self-service portals, and thanks to Constellation UI UX architecture. And not only that, right? So I think citizen developers can do the authoring of the views, so-called sections before. Now it is all views,
Yes.
where Constellation actually renders on any portal, right? If it is built on Constellation. So that's That's a really nice things about Constellation. So Mike, what are we seeing today? What is that something that you have done and wanted to show to us?
Yes. So basically, I'll show you the glimpse of our solution, which we are calling it Constellation Insta Constellation Shoot. Okay, I'll share that screen and I'll present a view of that. Okay, so give me a moment. Okay, so this is basically we built a demo portal. Okay, so this is built entirely using Constellation. So I'll build a case called mortgage loan application. Okay. So when you say mortgage loan application, right? So we have built a form. Okay. So this form has few components. Okay. So I'll explain. This is a text box, right? This is a text box, and this is a gender selection radio button kind of thing. Then we have something called slider. So this is a custom component which is present in our suite. Okay. So there are many components like that which is present in our suite. Okay. The text box we render in a different way. Okay. You can see this is accordion. So accordion is not provided in Pega as of now, the Pega Constellation components, right?
But it is accordion is there, but it is a different style or etc. But so these are all called as DX components. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so these components, what you see, right? These are DX components. Okay, so here few components, for example, this text box is Pega component, but this radio button is our component. So the thing is that Pega also a radio button, but we are displaying in a different way. Okay,
Okay.
and accordion is not present in Pega. Accordion is something which we created. Okay, and
Mhm.
then this rating, what you see, right? This rating is not present in Pega. This is customizable rating system. Then if you go ahead and submit this form, there is something which more will load. So we have other fields what we customize is something called feedback. It's not loading here. So basically, it's a rating system. Okay, it's one of a custom component also. Okay, one of our custom component. Okay, through which you can create. So basically, InstaSuite creates a lot of custom component like this. There are cards, there is rating, there are some text boxes with icon. So all those things we are there. Okay, so these are the so entire suite will reveal kind of thing. So you can see over here if I click on theme manager. So these are the
Mhm.
suite of components what we are creating. Okay, so UI components, we have input box, we have radio button, we have drop down, we have alert boxes, then we have button check boxes. See, these check boxes will look different in different theme manager. We have sliders. Okay, this is a squarish slider, this is a round slider. Then we have toggle buttons, right? So this is a toggle button, this is the square toggle button. So we have search boxes like that. We have ratings cards, progress bar, accordions, font selection options. We have dark light theme option. We have different kinds of tables, notification slider, social media icons. So there are more than a combination. If you see, there are more than 60 plus components what we have, around 15 to 20 components, type of components. If you add all the variations, then we have together 60 components, right? And this theme manager comes with, as of now, we have 3 themes. We'll keep on updating more themes. So you can see, basically, just give you an example. The drop down looks in a different way here, and the drop down looks in a different way here. So these two. So if some user wants to see the drop down like this, they can select theme 3, and then apply. It will apply. And then somebody wants their button to look like this, they will apply theme 2. And if they want button to look like this, they will apply theme 3. So we are offering a user level personalization. Okay, let's suppose we are belong to same user group, but I want my portal to look like blue, where you want your portal to look like red. So you can select the color and do apply now. You can see the entire portal has changed into red color, right? Similarly, if I am a user, I want to I prefer theme 2 as the design language, and I want blue color. And click on this, and the portal will change into blue color. And this is individual to user. This is not individual to portal. Okay, same portal can be rendered in multiple ways. So if you notice theme to the even the text box pattern and all things have changed. When you click on this, there's a box you see outside. When you click on this, you see the box outside. Previous design in theme 3, this was not the option. If you have not have noticed, probably I'll apply and show again. So theme 3, if you apply over here, you see the box looks like something different, right? So we are adding this kind of customizations, flavor of UI and UX for each individual user. Now this is one part of the
Understood.
equation. So this is Pega native app, what we built. Now same thing we can, same changes we can reflect on the external portal also. So this is the external portal. Okay, I will log in and I will show you that. So this user what I created is Pega, it's the same user, IDC user. I log in with the same user. So you can see the same changes over there. Okay, so IDC, I just log in and show you. So let it log in.
So you mean to say, irrespective of the portals, right? And then if it is something customized, sorry, the specialization is done at the user level, so irrespective of the portals, it's gonna apply the theme. That is what you mean to say?
Yes, it's like personalized for every user.
Okay. So it is user specific.
It's not portal specific, it's user specific. So if you can
So it
see
is
this
not like
portal.
access group and then portal. You apply once and then it reflect everywhere.
Yes, yes.
So it
So
is like, okay.
yeah, so I have, see, if you have selected blue theme here, right, and theme
Hmm.
2, it's loading like a theme 2. Okay.
Okay.
For me, now let's suppose I go here. I'm a IDC user, right? I change this theme to, let's suppose I want orange. I'll put some deep color over here. I want orange, right? And I want theme 1. So I applied theme 1. Here it changed basically. So if I refresh the browser, or if I log in and log out, I can see the same changes over here if I go and create the case, right? So see, it's become orange and the forms have changed. So theme 1 has very minimal customization. In theme 1, I'll show you, we have customized only few components. For example, radio button, text box, but drop down is not customized. So if you see the drop down of theme 1, the drop down of theme 1 looks little bit different, okay, compared to other options. So this is theme 1. This look like this, the drop down. If I go and
Hmm.
change theme 3, which is customized, radio button is drop down is completely customized. If I select this, and if I go and refresh the browser, then your drop down should change. Okay. So yeah. So
Yeah.
so this is something which you are trying to do. Okay. And as I told you, this is not for one user. This is for like every user can customize the portal as per their requirement. They can select any of the themes. Going forward, we'll add more themes, but this is something we are adding. We'll keep adding layer on every time whenever some new UI theme comes, some new UI design comes. We'll update our theme manager. So this is the entire Constellation suite.
So I think what I observed, Mayank, right? So you are actually trying to, override or do the style change, right, on the
Yes.
fly, and then
Yes.
also persist at the user level, so that once again, if he logs off and log in, you will have the same theme, same colors, etc. And
Yes.
also one thing that actually piqued my interest, that you're also neatly providing all those DX components and then putting under theme 1, theme 2, theme 3, right?
Yes.
Versus giving, okay, 50 components, here are the 50 components, DX components, take it, right? but
Mm.
but that's one of the, I think, limitations, where if you are actually creating a DX component, you should also look at the various factors, like could be a performance thing, or it could be an accessibility issue, that the
Yeah.
same DX component should render in different screens and different devices. The other one is with respect to the UI UX guidelines or best practices. So I believe you are actually using the safe customization technique. For example, I could see Pega has purposefully created something called hash class names on the CSS, so that you cannot do overriding of that, and then it will, if Pega wants to come up with some updates, right, or upgrades, and then that is where there was a break in terms of the code and rendering the new functionality. So you are actually taking all those things into consideration. You're not going at that level, but trying to actually on the fly change the pattern of those components, and also neatly put into the category of theme 1, theme 2, what are the DX components that you have built. Is that my understanding is right?
Yes, Manju. So basically, what you told, Pega use hashing for CSS, right? So we are not going and touching the Pega code. We are keeping it, and we are doing a structure override. Okay, so structure override will not disturb the upgrade part. So whenever Pega upgrades, will be aligned with the upgrade as well. Okay, so uh, we are creating a layer only on top of it. We are not going to disturb the Pega way of doing things, or how the Pega's entire thing is Constellation designed, and how they have done the CSS part for the entire component builders of CSS. Okay, so we'll always be aligned with Pega. The entire theme manager will always be aligned with Pega, and then they're using MUI. You're also using MUI. So every element what you saw in the screen, every component what you saw in the screen, it's all aligned with MUI architecture, right? So we are following the same thing in terms of your safety authentication things, like we are following what Pega is recommending, the same way of authentication and the same parameter change in the entire the Constellation suite. So we are in line with that. So there's no danger from upgrade perspective or something we are playing around with Pega.
Understood. So, what is something that you are solving here? Because you showed something really amazing stuff, right? What is something that you are solving?
Yeah.
Because Pega provides Constellation, Pega provides even the team manager out of the box.
Yes.
So what problem you are trying to solve here? Yeah,
Yeah. So see, Pega Constellation is a great tool. Constellation does solve a lot of problem. Okay, and makes things faster. You get a portal in a very small amount of time. But we are when it comes to customization of the portal and adding some custom components which Pega doesn't provide. For example, our rating system, accordion, slider. Then we have cards. Okay, XYZ. We have a number of materials coming out in that. So all those things are definitely a need when you create a modern customer facing portal. And creating those portals using custom SDK needs a certain kind of technical skill set where you need someone to know React, you need a UI designer, and then you need a lot amount of time to build those components, and the
yeah,
entire orchestration part deploying from your SDK to your server. So entire thing brings a lot amount of time into the factor of business use case. So we are just helping you out to save the entire time. So if you see the components, right, we have around total 60 components variations. To build these 60 components, you need a tool technical person, designer, and then some Pega person also who understand how the SDK works. So we spent months on uh, on going to Constellation entire SDK, understand how it works. So now as a team, as a engineering team, we know entirely how Constellation thing works right now. We have demystified the entire thing of Constellation, right? So going to that level needs a lot of time, investment, everything. So what we are providing, instead of investing that much time, you take this solution. It takes 10 to 15 minutes of entire package integration, and then you are done. You can just click on buttons and personalize and use it on the. It's like a plug and play solution. So we just save 3 months to 3 minutes, I can say. So that much of almost 95, 96% time efficiency what you're providing in terms of turnaround time. And this specifically for Constellation, which is very new age and very much new to the market, and a lot of interest, a lot of people are want to use it. And we are just kind of making the adoption of Constellation more user friendly or to a wider set of audience.
understood. So actually, this draws to my next question, right? I know that, of course, I also came from UI kit era, which was, I think, it was
Yeah.
introduced in 2016. The mentality is, build any UI you want, right?
Yes.
And then, then came something called theme cosmos, where it
Yes.
is some part of the components are actually theme based, right? With a center out approach and all those things, right? And now it is Constellation, right? I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of customers are still in the journey of traditional UI UX and not really moving to Constellation, or they are in the verge of moving to Constellation. I was also hearing that Pega is also coming up with some migration tools. Fortunately, to convert the traditional UI UX section based, harness based into views.
Yes.
So, the question is, what I have, what if the customers do not choose the Constellation path? What they're going to miss?
So much you see, they are gonna miss a lot on the modern web side, modern UI side of it. So UI kit is there. Pega says it will keep on supporting UI kit. It's not going to the sunset part. Right? It will be there, but the orchestration of the modern UI and the faster business logic, bring the business logic to the UI of the screen. Okay, in a faster period of time, that is not possible with UI kit. Okay, so if I have to test a business logic, okay, and bring it to the user front, test it. Okay, if I want to test it in a development mode, it's you can test it with the UI kit. But if I want to test it faster in front of a user base, then Constellation is the right option. You understand that 20 minutes I build a portal, I deploy it, and the user can give a feedback. That same thing takes days, in sometimes months also, using UI kit. Right now I can do A/B testing using Constellation from the UI front I'm talking about. And then all these modern things you get once you deploy. For example, you do the A/B testing and you get out of it a modern UI, okay, which is in trend with all the other web portals. So the modern, you see any other BPM tools, or you see any other kind of services over the internet, right? So everything is following a new trend, the modern trend. So Constellation will keep you updated to that. And also, what I've seen, the UI of Pega, basically the Constellation part, if you go and see the GitHub, they are updating it every now and then. So every 2 or 3 days, you see a push on the code, and they are following all the new paradigms, right? So once we jump on this Constellation, we'll be in sync with Pega, what Pega is updating, what Pega is upgrading in terms of UI, and then it will be easier for us to go through that entire journey of getting into the right set of UI and the right set of users.
Understood. I think if I can bucket it, right? So in terms of the value that Constellation is bringing, right? If I consider that I'm a business person, right? So for me, I think it is faster time to value, better end user experiences, and also do once and then reach out to all users across all channels, right? So you don't have to build it, specific to channel, right? And if I actually consider for developers, because even I'm also a developer at one point in time, so actually it saves more design and dev time, right? So because I don't have to struggle on writing some of the CSS, some of the JS, and all those things, to get rich user experience, and it's model driven, extensible, right? And also I don't have to worry about whether this causes any upgrade issue, right? So that's more important. And also it generates the code which has more best practices embedded already, right? And I
Yes.
think that's what is for IT team. It's almost like it's a faster performance, improving the upgrade, and with a center out approach with seamless integration and all those benefits of Constellation, right? So I think it's a go-to architecture for sure. So, and I'm also saying, I think in Infinity 24, right? So, as you rightly said, so they keep upgrading, or they keep innovating, the components and the Constellation and the way that actually builds the React code or Vue code or whatever it is, right? And it is also open source for now. And I'm saying that already in Infinity 24, I'm excited to see that they're also improving some of the data designer objects, rule forms, and all those things, right? They're delivering that UI UX as well, right? I'm excited to see what's more in Infinity 24. I think, after Pega World, I think we'll get to know, right? So I think it's a great architecture for sure, right? So anything that you need to cover, Mayank, anything that we missed with respect to, in this webinar that we need to touch upon?
Yes, Manju. One particular thing I want to answer here. So a lot of people might have questioned that even the starter pack, which came version 1, right? So that also gives a lot of option to customize and create a UI and deploy it in external portal kind of thing, right? So how Dix component differs with that? So I mean, why Constellation? Even Dix starter pack also serves some kind
Correct.
of purpose, this, right? So a lot of people might have questioned. So I want to answer that briefly. So starter pack, you can see it has a everything you have to take care of. It get a set of UIs, cases, UI attachment, UI, assignment, UI, all those UI, APIs, not UI. API is what we get from starter pack, right? We can use that and customize it and render all the view using that API and display it, right? But Constellation, what it does, it takes all that effort and put inside Constellation engine. Okay, so the hard work, the heavy uplifting is taken by Constellation. Now we only need to use something they provide called Peak or P-Connect. So just you need to know how to use Peak or P-Connect, and then once you know how to use Peak or P-Connect, right, then every heavy lifting of that has been taken by Constellation. To give a
Okay.
example of it, we build a portal where we have built a portal. I told you, right, this agent portal, right, the IDC part, which we will also demo later on. So we are able to display an entire work list of a Pega portal, just the work list in any web rich application. Okay, let's suppose you are a policy bazaar. I'm giving example, not naming anything like that. So just now you're a policy bazaar, you want to display a form on your website, and you are using Pega in the back end, right? So you just build an application form and just display that form in that application where you can take the customer request. So just as form can be done. So what you need, you just need Peak or Pay Connect of knowledge, how to connect with, how to put that Peak or inside a web, okay, the entire element, and then the entire flow of case, entire work list, how it displays that, everything by taking care of this Constellation engine, okay. Which,
Understood.
contrary to that, in the case of DX starter pack, we have to do everything ourselves. Okay, and it takes a lot of amount of time and knowledge as well. So
Understood.
Pega does
I
this.
think it is also a combination of DXAPI version 1 and version
Yes,
2.
version.
I think there are a lot of confusions around that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
there's
I
some
got the real.
standardization also. Okay, so in the Constellation, you see, right, when the Constellation, what they do, they bring a kind of standardization to entire process of using the APIs. Otherwise, people can have their own version of using that, right? But since Pega want to bring a standard to the entire architecture, they are doing the heavy lifting themselves. So this also brings
Understood.
that.
So I have one last question because you were talking about do's and don'ts, somewhere, right? So are there any do's and don'ts in Constellation architecture when
Architecture
you're
wise,
leveraging it? Yeah.
usage wise,
When you're
yeah.
leveraging.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So see, Constellation is evolving. We all know it's evolving. It's getting better every passing day, right? So anybody who has a large application which is built on UI kit entirely, so transitioning from them to this particular portal Constellation will be a not very comfortable at this point in time, because a lot of actions, a lot of things, Constellation yet to go to that point where it support everything. But if you have minimal application, you can say small case type or a kind of a similar like loan origination case type, give example, or maybe you can say external portal or self-service portal kind of use case, right? Where you can just create a self-service use case. For those kind of things, Constellation is very good at this point in time. But if you have a large application, as I told, with lot of actions and here and there, so for that we need some time. So I'll suggest people who
So
are
this is when you
yeah.
wanted to externalize and then wanted to expose to the external users, right? So
Yes.
otherwise, the internal, the Constellation portal will seamlessly work. I think there are some limitations there. I think it is nice to, it is what to, see what are those limitations and etc. Understood. Okay. Yeah. So I think we'll have a Q&A. There are a couple of questions from our attendees. So there is
Yeah.
one question where in which language are these components built?
We build using React Native. It's
Okay,
entirely built
yeah,
using React. Yes. Yes.
okay. So there is also another question. Also, how would RDL or a repeating layout work or look? Right.
So
So
it supports repeating dynamic layout. Basically, we have multiple layouts. A given column layout, one column, two column, three column layout. They have given that like that, and we have created a custom component called tab layout, which is not present in Pega. So that kind of things we are adding from our side, which Pega doesn't provide. So this example is tab layout.
so of course Pega might provide, but we are also adding some of the components to enhance the customer experience using the theme concept and all those things, right? So that's understood. So I think that's all. We had two questions. So I think it's time to wrap the webinar. Thank you, Mayank, for your time on navigating around the Constellation technology, basically do's and don'ts, and why Pega wanted to promote Constellations to everyone. So in conclusion, I believe Constellation addresses significant uh, pain points in traditional UI development, right? So which offers scalability, maintainability, and also the center of architecture. So team, the people who are actually attending this webinar, so we are proud showcase sponsors of Pega World 24, which is happening in Las Vegas from June 9 to 11. If any one of you are making to Pega World, I will be very excited and happy to connect you at booth number 34, where we will be showcasing some of the use cases around Constellation in the areas of self-service portals and also across the domains like banking, telco, and etc. Mainly on the digital collaboration concepts. So if you would like to connect with us and understand more about UI UX of Pega, that is Constellation, or if you are in the journey of traditional UI, looking for quick support and advisory, because Pega also started supporting, the coexistence of both traditional US case type as well as the Constellation case type. So we're happy to connect and provide that complimentary advisory for a week or two. And I think our coordinates are getting displayed right in the screen. Feel free to send an email or WhatsApp us, and we'll be happy to connect and take it forward. Right. So thank you for your participation, and also nice to see some of the questions. And it's a great engagement. So we look forward to assisting you in leveraging Constellation to drive your business forward. So thank you one and all. Thank you very much for taking your time to attend this webinar. Thank you, Mayank, especially.
Thanks, Manju. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.